Another $1,200 stimulus check. Yeah, that's what we're hearing from many media outlets. However, that is not true. So if people on YouTube are telling you that you are going to receive another $1,200 stimulus check, just understand that is untrue, that is false, and they are lying to you. Here's what's going on. So the IRS just announced today that they have sent out more than 12 million refunds that average more than $1,200 each. Now, where are they getting the money to send out these refunds? Well, these 12 million refunds actually are going to Americans that were not supposed to pay income taxes on their first $10,200 of unemployment benefits back in 2020. However, because that bill was signed in 2021 and millions of people already paid the taxes on that income, they were supposed to get that money refunded back to them. Well, it's taken the IRS a little bit of time because they have been extremely backlogged for pretty much the entire pandemic. Now, here's what you need to know. This is good news that the American people were able to get their money back. This is good news that the IRS has since got caught up with these 12 million refunds. However, there's also some bad news here. The bad news is the IRS is still behind in a lot of their work. On December 9th, 2022, the IRS had a backlog of 2.5 million unprocessed tax returns. Now, good news here is this was down from what it was previously in the year when they had a backlog of 7.6 million unprocessed returns. This was back on August 12th, 2022. Now, why does all this matter? Well, it matters for a couple of reasons. First, the IRS still has a pretty massive backlog of 2.5 million unprocessed returns. The other issue is pretty soon we're going to start filing our new tax returns for the tax year of 2022. You see how this is an issue? Well, this is one issue. The second issue is that Republicans, their first course of business in the House of Representatives is to claw back roughly 90% of the $80 billion that went for additional IRS funding. This means this will be about $72 billion is in question. And I know people are going to ask, well, but the House will never get this passed. Well, you are halfway right. The House of Representatives will likely see the bill to claw back 90% of the IRS funding. They'll likely see that pass. However, this is where you are right, is that the Senate will never vote on pulling back $72 billion from the IRS. However, they might have to. Here's what we know. According to a recent statement from multiple Republican representatives just this morning, they say that their demand at the moment is to reduce spending or risk a government default on their debts. And they're serious about this. One Republican representative said that she guarantees a debt limit breach if Democrats can't reduce their already passed spending bills. This includes the $80 billion going to the IRS, but it doesn't stop there. There's other provisions that Republicans are trying to get pretty much pulled back, right? Get pretty much reverted back to the old ways in 2020 and 2021. But again, we will see what happens there. The one thing I can tell you is that reducing the spending for the IRS, this means that taking back $72 billion, only giving the IRS $8 billion, what this is going to do is this is going to slow down the hiring of new IRS agents, which will actually save the American people money, because this means less IRS agents are going after the American people and means they will not get audited, or there's a smaller chance they will get audited, which means there's more money for them. However, this will not fix the backlog of unprocessed tax returns, because the expectation is that more IRS agents are going to leave the IRS. They will go find different jobs, or they will simply retire. When this happens, there's going to be a greater need for additional funding. However, Republicans say that now is not the time to fund the IRS, because the IRS, their goal is to bring in additional revenue by targeting, they say, the wealthy. However, what's expected is that the lower income households are the one that are going to feel the brunt of this impact. So because of that, Republicans say now is not the time, because essentially what this is doing is this is bringing in funding to pretty much fund Democrats' agenda over the past year. So we will see what happens moving forward. One thing I can tell you though is that you're going to see a lot of reports saying that there's another $1,200 payment coming. Okay, that's false. There's no stimulus check coming. The federal government will not pass another stimulus check. This is both from a Democratic standpoint and a Republican standpoint. Neither party is going to push for another stimulus check. The next thing that you need to keep in mind is that the IRS, for one, they are struggling. They need additional funding, but they're not going to get this additional funding, or here's the worry. The worry that Republicans have is that Democrats are providing additional stimulus through nutrition assistance. They're providing more for states. They're providing more for other social programs, right? Here's the issue. Republicans are worried that as they're providing more benefits for these lower income households that still work, mind you, the lower income households are going to be taxed on the income that they're working for. So even though Democrats have stated we are not going to raise taxes on anybody making less than $400,000 per year, the worry here is they're actually going to raise the money by taxing the American people, but doing it through an audit. That's the worry. Not just from Republicans. Now, Democrats, they're not really talking about this, and obvious reasons why. They don't want this really being known. But here's the issue. What happens when people that are only making $20,000 to $30,000 go and get audited? What happens when a family that only makes $60,000 per year gets audited and they have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, which they don't have? What happens then? Well, the problem at that point, some say it's going to be their issue. And if it's their issue, it could be too late for anybody to do anything about it. But this is one of the reasons why Republicans are adamant that they are going to tie the debt ceiling to this $80 billion that went to the IRS. They're going to tie those two together. And unless we can pull back some of the $80 billion, they're not going to do anything to attempt to raise the debt ceiling. So we're going to see what this means moving forward, but this is the first course of business for Republicans in the House of Representatives. They're going to do pretty much what they can, everything possible, to not give the IRS this money. Now, here's the other thing. I've told you this before. We are going to see Republicans go after all the social spending. This means for the IRS, this means for Medicare, this also means for Social Security. Republicans are going to do that because they don't want to increase the debt ceiling. They want to keep it right where it's at, but in order to keep it right where it's at, we have to reduce spending. So something's going to have to give, and we're going to have an answer on that very soon. And as we get more information, I promise I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.